Wherever you're listening in the world, it's a pleasure to welcome you to IsraelCast, the podcast powered by Jewish National Fund USA, your voice in Israel. I'm Steven Shalowitz, first reminding you that for over 120 years, Jewish National Fund USA has been the premier philanthropic movement for the land and people of Israel. While best known for planting trees in Israel, JNF USA contributes to Israeli life in so many ways, including community development in the Negev and the Galilee, preservation of heritage sites, supporting people with disabilities, and connecting high school and college students to Israel. To learn more and to see how you can contribute, do visit jnf.org. Once again, hope you got it by now, jnf.org. All right, as for this episode, I am truly excited to feature our guest, Ami Moyal. He's the president of Afeka, Tel-Aviv Academic College of Engineering. Professor Moyal, may I call you Ami?
Yes, definitely.
All right, welcome to the program. We've got a lot of bases to cover, and I had such great interest in doing the homework, the research behind you and what Afeka is doing in terms of really trying to spread the word and develop the whole world of engineering and the engineering community in Israel. And hopefully it'll have ripple effects indeed throughout the world. But before we get to that, I'd really love you to share your journey in terms of how you got to the position where you are right now.
Okay. Thank you. I think that the first step was completing engineering at Ben Gurion University in Beersheba. First degree, master, and then PhD in electrical and computer engineering. During my master degree, I discovered a fascinating world called speech recognition that if you want, we can elaborate more later.
Yes, I'd like to.
And my master and PhD thesis were in speech recognition, the capability of a computer to understand human speech. When I completed my PhD, although I had a nice offer for a postdoc and coming back to be a faculty member at Ben Gurion University, I decided to do a different thing. I joined the high-tech industry in Israel. At the beginning, I thought it will be for a year or two to get some experience of developing products, but the journey lasted 15 years. I started by a position of a research engineer, a team leader, project manager, vice president for technology development, everything in speech recognition. At a certain point when my communication capabilities were discovered, I moved to the other side, to the business development, marketing. I was vice president for business development. And the last position was a CEO of a high-tech company in speech recognition for 7 years. So quite a journey in the high-tech industry. And then I made another shift. I came back to academia. And I'm using the term came back because I see academia and education as my main mission in life. And I'm here at Afeka a little more than 10 years. At the beginning, I was a faculty member for a year. Here too, I thought I'm coming for a year or two for a small pause and coming back to the high-tech industry, but life took me to be the dean of electrical engineering department. And then about 8 years ago, a new president was elected to Afeka, and I was suggested the position, and I'm just completing 8 years in the position of the president of Afeka, a college of engineering.
How fantastic. Before we talk about engineering in the broadest of brushstrokes, can we talk about speech recognition? I'm absolutely fascinated by this field. I think we could probably have a whole separate conversation on it, but I'm just wondering, how has that field changed since you started in it, and what are some of the exciting developments that you're seeing going on today, Ami?
When I started dealing with speech recognition about more than 20 years ago, I actually developed a speech recognition from scratch. I built the whole speech recognition engine, and there is a training phase. You know, speech recognition recognizes what it was trained to. So you need large speak databases from many speakers, ages, gender, well distributing, well representing the population, a training phase recognition. So more than 20 years ago, we actually wrote the code for the speech recognition training and recognition. But today, the market has completely changed. All technology giants have their own speech recognition engines. There are much fewer small companies that are dealing with speech recognition, and there are many open sources, meaning if a company wants to enter the speech recognition field, the barriers are much, much lower. You don't need to employ many people, develop a team, and develop your own engine. You can use the open source. So from this point of view, the work of a research engineer in the speech recognition arena has been changed. Another major change is the target markets. At the beginning, speech recognition was used to human-machine interaction in order to communicate with machines. At a second phase, speech recognition was used in order to search data. Let's say Google is organizing the textual data in the world. If you can transcribe all the audio calls, the podcast that you are recording, and videos as text, Google will index the text, and then you can be able to search within large quantities of multimedia content. So that's another possibility, to search within large amounts of data. Later on, speech recognition was used in security market. Let's say you are recording and analyzing calls, and if there are hazards, security hazard based on the content, you can act. And now in the last 2-3 years, I see a major use in speech processing, not only recognition, in the medical and healthcare market. By the way, during the Corona crisis, quite a large team at Afeka conducted the research trying to diagnose COVID-19 from your voice, mainly at the early stages when the virus affects your throat, and it can be heard by the computer in your voice. As a last remark, the speech signal, which is a signal, I'm an expert in signal processing. The speech is a signal, has a lot of data inside. It has the language, the content, the emotion, the intention, the features of the unique speaker. So there's a lot of data, and there are a lot of possibilities to use in analysis of the speech content. You can transcribe it for the content. You can recognize the language for various applications. You can recognize the emotion, if you are under pressure, if you are excited, if you are happy. You can recognize the person, the age. So there's a lot of content in the speech signal itself that, based on different applications, you can use different sorts or all sorts of data for various reasons and various target markets. So the improvement in technology, mainly the usage of neural network from artificial intelligence, the increased processing power, and the improvement in performance, all three have gathered to a point that an engine can transcribe what I'm saying now in real time in a very good percentage. So there's a huge potential in usage of speech processing technologies.
Two questions as it relates to the whole medical field. The first one is that, can you talk about some of the other applications in the medical field apart from COVID-19, and second part is that how did that whole research work go in terms of recognizing COVID for speech? Where is that right now?
In general, if I may dream, in a few years, 10, 20, 30 years, I don't care, I'm just looking to the future.
Right.
There'll be a small engine that will analyze our calls on our cellular phone. The call will be analyzed, and if there is a large variation from our standard voice, we will receive an SMS. We hear something in your voice. We recommend that you go for a testing or go to your doctor. Second point, many sickness or disease has an influence on your voice, starting from regular cold that you are catching that are affecting your throat or your speech, disease or pneumonia in your lungs. So there are many illnesses that are affecting your voice. If we would be able to receive recordings of healthy people and people that are sick in a specific disease, we would be able to characterize them and then maybe able to do two things. We are not going to replace the doctors. It's a decision supporting tool that you may be directed to the doctor for further examination. Or a second, once we know that somebody is sick, we can monitor the progress of the illness. There's a project here in Afeka that monitor the progress of the Parkinson disease. There are several stages, and based on your speech, it helps doctor to decide and monitor in which stage you are. So any illness of malfunctioning of your body that influence your speech processing can help the medical market, the doctors, in order to for an early detection. And of course, it has a value from the financial point of view and early detection of illness. The second point you ask is about COVID-19. In general, if we had a database of thousands of speakers that has COVID-19 in the first days, when it affected mainly the throat before it arrived, let's say, to the lungs. And we have quite a large community of people that are health recordings. And we discovered that there are similar phenomena on the throat and on the speech to regular cold. So let's say we have three groups of people with a lot of recordings that we would be able to train neural networks, very detailed models for each one of the patterns. That would be the base for trying to recognize COVID-19, people infected with COVID-19. And again, another dream, which is not to fulfill tomorrow morning. You're talking to your COVID-19 diagnosis application on your phone at home. No need to go to testing as a first screening. And on a daily basis, it monitors your voice. And once the application saw some difference for your normal voice, it recommends you to go to do a testing. Of course, there's a lot of similarity between the symptoms of COVID-19 and a regular flu or pneumonia or the various sorts of diseases that affect your lungs, but we need further research in order to establish models. And you don't need to be 100% accurate. It can work with 50, 60, 70% because it will direct people to do the PCR or the other testing. It will be a first preliminary diagnosis if you should go for testing or not in order to handle the millions of people that need to do testing. So it has also influence on how you manage the testing of a large quantity of people, which we face such a problem in Israel.
And this is still being worked on at Afeka?
During the Corona crisis, the whole team here, it was about 10 people, worked on it as a national project. We reached a certain point. Currently, in order to proceed, we need very large databases representing the population from one side that are sick and from the other side that are healthy. So until the point that we have very large databases, we won't be able to continue. And that's based on nation priorities. If there'll be another round of COVID, I guess there'll be a lot of motivation to continue the research. Currently, we completed the first phase with some reasonable results, but we need to establish a robust algorithm.
And one other question before we move on to engineering in general, Ami. Have people then looked at this notion of speech recognition and mood? In other words, if I've read and heard that if you smile, that it will make you happy. In other words, that will create something in your brain to say, hey, you're happy, and then it will come through in your voice. And I'm just wondering if people have done any research into that connection between mood and speech recognition?
Yeah, we are several researchers here in the Afeka Center for Language Processing. I'm focused on speech recognition. One of my colleagues is focused on the speaker verification in order to recognize the speaker. And the third one, Professor Vered Aronson, her main focus is emotion detection. Mm-hmm. She is trying to detect one of 3 or 4 main emotions that she has defined: happy, sad, anxious, under pressure, well-defined, several categories that she's trying to categorize. Yeah, definitely, and there is an ongoing research on it.
All right, fascinating. Stay tuned. We're going to have you back just to talk about developments in speech recognition, but I do want to move on now to talk about engineering in general. And I want you to share with our audience, as I mentioned before we started rolling, we have listeners all over the world. I want you to share this notion and the idea that Israel, even though it's a so-called startup nation, still has a shortage and a deficit of engineers, but it's not only an Israeli problem, it's a global problem. And I'm wondering if you can share some of those statistics for our listeners.
Yeah, it's more, let's start with a strategic view for the years to come. Mm-hmm. The global economy is more and more STEM oriented. STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. There is the high-tech industry, there is innovation and digital use in the classical industry. The whole workforce will be digital oriented. So the whole economy globally is STEM oriented. There will be, with usage of artificial intelligence and robotics, the job market will shift towards people that has STEM capabilities, meaning science, math, and skills. And I'm putting emphasis on skills. Example, multidisciplinary teamwork, critical thinking, self-learning, effective communication. These skills are required at the high-tech industry, in the industry as a whole, and in the workforce. So if we're taking a view to the future, the number of jobs in the job market that are STEM related will increase. So we need more and more on a yearly basis. In Israel, we are lacking, let's say, if I'm taking a look at the last 5 years, we are lacking between 13 to 20,000 engineers and software people. It become a chronic problem. It's not a local problem for 1 year or two. And I wrote about it in the States also, a similar problem with a much larger scale in the absolute figures. Hundreds of thousands of engineers and software people are lacking while we go forward with the year. So there's a huge lack in the number themselves. I would like to put it on the table another point, that it's not only the quantity. We need to talk also about the quality. I think that engineering, people are talking about engineering training. You train engineers. I'm using a different terminology. We educate engineers, and I would like to explain.
Please.
Today, in order to train engineers to the job market, you need to give them scientific and engineering knowledge. You need to give them the skills that I mentioned earlier. By the way, I call them vital skills. Sometimes they are called soft skills, but I'm calling them vital skills. They are essential skills that you need. And a word of ethics, if you work in AI, autonomous cars, the world of ethics should be on the table. So it's not only knowledge to be an engineer. You need knowledge, skills, and ethics. So I'm putting on the table not only the lack of engineers, I'm putting on the table the quality of the engineering education process. And I guess it's obvious that my opinion is, as somebody that has been 15 years in the high-tech industry, that the education process should be completely change in order to fit industry needs. And if you want, we can elaborate more. I think that the change should start at the early phases at the education system, at the K-12 itself, at the STEM education.
Yeah, how do you get that change though? Because I think today so many people, because we're facing this in the United States as well, they want to go into the softer sciences. They want to go into social work, or they want to do PR, they want to do advertising, or people just want to go into so-called high tech and just make a $1 billion off the mark,
Yeah.
and then that's it. So how do you really change that whole mindset? In other words, like, what's your elevator pitch to young people to get excited about engineering?
First of all, as a basic belief, I think that every girl and boy should pursue their dreams and passion. We as people in the education system and the academia should put all options on the table, and we should explain. But the teenager, the young people, the next generation should pursue their dreams. Part of them would like to be engineers or science people or any other position in the job market, either in industry or no. But our main obligation is to put it on the table. An example, in the periphery in Israel, in the north and in the south, they are not exposed so much to science, technology, and engineering. So we are inviting teenagers at the age of 14, 15, for a journey at Afeka, that the main purpose is, here is what it is: science, technology, and engineering. You can do fascinating things. If that interests you and it is going with your passion, pursue your passion. Nobody will tell you not to do it. If it's not your interest, it's okay to do other things. So the academia and the industry should open the doors to expose the beauty of science, technology, and engineering to the young people, and then they need to decide if they want to do it. But the coronavirus has done a magnificent work in this point, because it has proven that scientists and engineers has saved the world by developing the tools, the means in order to overcome the COVID-19 crisis. A second point, we need to change, and here, if you want, I can elaborate more as an example what we did in Afeka. Students are coming for a 4-year study for being engineers. The new generation, sitting in classes for 8 hours a day and listening to lecture, doesn't fit them. It doesn't fit the new generation. So the input to the academia is different. A new generation learning differently and are not very tolerated to sit hours a day in lecture. From the other side, the industry, the high-tech industry states that they need skills. They need not only knowledge, and that's not only the industry in Israel, the states also. Many surveys of the American Association of Colleges and Universities that are doing among the job market, there's an emphasis on skills. So in my belief, if the input has changed and the output has changed, the education process cannot remain the same. So what we are doing is we are completely changing the educational process, that the students would come out of curiosity, passion, interest. And how we do it? The first step was to define the graduate profile. It took us more than a year to define the ultimate goal of our work. What is the graduate profile of Afeka that, if we will reach it, we'll be very happy about the outcome? Scientific knowledge, engineering knowledge, personal skills, engineering skills, languages, broad knowledge, and ethics. Once we define the output, at the last 5 years, we have implemented many changes in the curriculum, in the courses, in the extracurricular activity, in the physical landscape of the campus. Afeka looks like a WeWork. It looks like a high-tech company, and building a culture. So in the last 5 years, We define the skills, enter them to courses and learning outcomes, and build an adventure. I believe that 4 years of engineering study should be an enjoyable journey for the students. They should enjoy. One last point, you cannot be excellent if you're not enjoying what you're doing. I want them to be excellent, so I provide them an education process that is with a different pedagogy. They are studying outside of class, in the industry, in the beach, in the garden. We are using different pedagogy, problem-based learning, gamification, whatever faculty member are recommending, we are supporting. So in a whole, it's a journey that the students enjoy, and that explains why we are facing quite a large increase in demand to study in Afeka. But that was a journey that took us about 5 years, but it will not end. We are living in a constant change and innovation, but the process is moving forward.
A lot to unpack there. First of all, I like what you said about having class at the beach, okay? Because if I knew that, I think I would have gone to Afeka back in the day. But I told you before we started rolling that my bachelor's was in Chinese language and literature. I studied international relations in graduate school. I worked in advertising. I'm a podcaster now. I don't have what I don't think, at least, I don't have a mathematical or a scientific kind of mind. I'm fascinated by it. But if I were to do it on a daily basis, I personally don't think I have the chops for that. So convince me, not that I should have gone into engineering, but for those people that say to themselves, you know what, I don't think I have what it takes to go into engineering, what would you say to them?
First, I distinguish between two categories. One's related to technology. There are the people that are doing the research, the development of products, that are writing software and developing products. That's one category. And the second category is heavy users of the technology. You don't need to be an R&D engineer in the high-tech industry, but you are using constantly on a daily basis technologies like artificial intelligence, business intelligence, interaction, various mode of interaction with software, either by speech recognition. So you are a heavy user of technology. You should be technology oriented, meaning there is one that is developing and there is one that is using heavily in his job. So both categories are okay. If you want to go to and that's with regard to trying to partition the world and the job market, and the number of people in the job market that would need to be technology oriented will increase. Technology will be everywhere. So even if you don't want to develop technology, you must get the skills and the surrounding of working in a rich and heavy technology environment. Regarding your question, that's your passion. I can explain what we do in engineering, okay? And engineering, in my point of view, once was considered as a cold profession, very structured with mathematical equations. That's not the case today. I think that engineering is like an art. You know, somebody's writing a book, somebody's writing a poem or a song. Engineers are developing new products. It's creation. In our case, we need that our creation will finally work as a product and influence life. So I see a lot of creation and innovation. And if you as a potential candidate like it, you're definitely welcome to enjoy the process. We develop products that change life, improve life, save life. And I think that the major task of the new generation in the world with a lot of problems that we are living them, energy, sustainability, water, heat, whatever, the main task of the new generation getting to the job market would be to solve problems. That's what engineering are doing. So if you like what I'm saying about creation, innovation, saving problems, and a lot of society oriented, there's a mission in it, join us. But no, we don't need everybody to be engineers, only if it's your passion. Our duty is to explain what we are doing. If that's your passion, we will definitely be happy to, the academia will be happy to educate excellent engineers.
I mean, you brought up ethics several times in the conversation.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on that as it relates to engineering or even some of the products, AI, for example, that are coming out of the engineering world?
Yeah, there are 2 points here that I want to emphasize, and I'm implementing them at Afeka. One, our students at Afeka are coming from all around the country. And once they finalize their studies, once they graduate, and even before of it, they are working in the high-tech industry and getting nice salaries. I don't want them to forget the society that has funded their studies. They should be with the face to the next generation to help women in engineering, periphery, and other sectors in Israel. So that's very important. So we are encouraging our students to be involved in social activity, mainly in schools in the periphery, to serve as role model. So this is one. I want them to take with them this aspect. The second one is ethics. And engineers that develop missiles, bombs, should be aware of what is developing and the implication. Software things, artificial intelligence. Machines in the world will be more and more intelligent with the capability to do actions. And the classical example that is well said in various conferences is autonomous cars. If there is a car that at a certain point need to decide if it is taking left, it will kill some person A, and if it do the next action, it will kill person B. That's are the two choices. What should it be done? Somebody need to write the software of the behavior of the car, and it involves ethics and decisions that has influence on life of people. And I think that the technology evolution and the ethics is well behind the technology evolution, although I'm seeing a lot of activity and committees that are talking, but I expect that within the years and the evolution of the AI, robotics, etc., it will be a continuous pursue after the technology development in order to put guidelines of ethics on the table. What we are doing here is we are offering our students courses, not always with clear decision what to do in certain cases. We can analyze case studies, but we have a course called Engineering and Ethics, talking broadly about ethical issues. We want the student to have it in their mind once during their studies and during their attempt to the job market, to be open with regarding to such items and to use common sense while they are working. You can educate engineers only in math and science, not aware to any ethics at all. And once they're arriving to the job market, they may face problems or just learn at that point. We think that during the education process, the issues should be on the table. They should analyze case study and discuss them, not always with clear decision, but the issue should be on the table.
I mean, I have in front of me a piece that was written in 2021 about the labor shortage. And I want to circle back to that because that's where we started this portion of our conversation with engineering. And this is from, it's Griddynamics. How's that? Griddynamics.com. And I want to just share with you and our listeners, I know you know these stats, but I think it's important just to contextualize what we're talking about here, because the article said worldwide market and technology trends are the main factors affecting the rising global talent shortage. According to a recent survey, 87% of organizations are already experiencing a talent shortage or are expecting to face it within a few years. There was another stat here I want to read that said that as of 2021, the global talent shortage already amounts to 40 million skilled workers worldwide. And another one, even, looking at the Nordics, for example, it said, for example, the software developer shortage in the Nordics is already a problem. Sweden alone will be lacking 70,000 IT or digital related competencies by 2022. And of course, we think of the Nordics as technologically advanced, cutting edge, and so on. So that's really illustrative of what you're saying, that it's not just an Israeli problem. So really, if we don't address this on a global basis, talk to us about the consequences.
First of all, as I started, the global economy would be STEM-based. It's not only high-tech or lack of engineers. We need skills, and I'm very happy that all these reports talked about skills, because I think that skills is the main issue. From my point of view, I think that only increasing the number of students in academia or in dedicated courses is not enough. I'm taking a step back and looking at the whole educational continuum from kindergarten to academia. And this is what I'm trying to pursue here in Israel. We have composed at Afeka a report of more than 20 pages called Afeka Framework, actually summarizing our experience in the last 5 years on the major change that I described earlier, but it includes recommendation on a national level on how to face this shortage in numbers and also update the educational process. So we have, I don't want to go over all recommendations, but in general, we think that the nation should look at the problem as a point to point, from kindergarten to the academia and to the industry, and implement the change from kindergarten to primary school to high school, to enlarge the motivation among students to take STEM courses, to put skills in addition to knowledge in the education process in K-12. And one last point that is very well connected to what you mentioned earlier. I think that there should be two main paths. The STEM path for people that knows that they want to go in the academia to engineering, math, science, and another track that for people that doesn't want to be engineers, but we know that the job market would be STEM oriented, so they will receive other set of skills or fewer skills that would be correlated to the skills that you have mentioned, that there will be a shortage, digital skills, working with AI. So again, I'm going back to two categories: well-defined STEM for engineers and minimum basic STEM education for everybody, but in a national holistic view of the whole educational process. It cannot be only in the academia or after K-12. K-12 and primary school should be involved in a long continuum educational process.
Really, congratulations on everything you and the team are doing at Afeka, because really you're trying to change the whole paradigm. And it's not just for now, but it's really for the future. And I can see and I can hear that passion about what engineering is all about and what it can do for people, not only on a personal level, but certainly for those that want to make a career out of it. So really just wishing you and the team much continued success. So when we started the conversation, you had mentioned that you are a very proud graduate of Ben Gurion University. Of course, we know it's in Beersheba. We know that Jewish National Fund has been instrumental in transforming Beersheba over the years. There's a new Zionism village that's going up there that is JNF backed. And I'm just wondering if you can share your thoughts about the transformation of Beersheba from the time that you were a student to, I'm guessing that you're still going back now or have occasion to go back.
I had a great time during my studies at Ben Gurion University. And a few years ago, Ben Gurion University gave me what they called Each year they are selecting about 5 graduates that has contributed to the Israeli society, and I was elected one of them a few years ago. That make me very proud.
Congratulations.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. And I think that one major change is that it's a large university now. 25 years ago, it was a smaller university. Now they are 50 years old. There are almost 20,000 students, quite a large university, a lot of departments and faculties. And what I like very much is their involvement in the area, because in my point of view, a university is a social engine for growth. So they are doing it very well with the cyber, with the industry nearby, with the activity in the campus and the growth. Very well work, and I'm in very good connection with the Dean of Engineering and many people there, also with the president. Yeah.
Ami, before we begin to wind down our conversation, I want to ask you a question about Zionism. But I want to go back to the notion of students in engineering, because here in the United States, there's a conversation around getting people from different minority groups involved in STEM, and especially women. And I'm just wondering if you can address, in the Israeli context, getting women excited about going into engineering.
We're facing the same problem. A month ago, I was in Washington at a very good conference talking about the required transformation in STEM education. So that was a conference right for me. And I saw the same problems: minorities, periphery, women in STEM in general, and specifically in engineering. We are facing same problems in Israel: periphery, north and south, women, Arabic and religious section that are not well represented among our students. There's another point in Israel that almost 80% of the high-tech industry is located in Tel Aviv. So we are definitely suffering from the same problems. Specifically women, we are fully aware of the problem and doing many activities in order to enlarge the body of students that we have here. We started 10 years ago, there were 15% of the students in Afeka were women. We are now reaching 30%. But we are in a 1-2% a year, a gradual increase. But the main point when we analyze the data is that medical engineering, the majority are students. Industrial and management engineering, the majority are students. Girl, I mean, yeah? And in software, it's 1/3 women, but in electrical engineering and mechanical engineering, we are not passing 15%. 15%. So there's a large deviation, and that, in my point of view, is coming from a perception. That's a perception from, I don't want to say early childhood, but in stages well before reaching to academia, stating electrical engineering is not for you. Why? Today, all engineers mostly are working with a computer, developing product, software, etc. There is not much difference between medical engineering, where there's a lot of women, and electrical engineering, where we are lacking women, low percentage. There's no difference. So in my point of view, it's a perception. Again, going back to the education system, we should expose girls to STEM, to the beauty of STEM, build motivation, and tell them that they can do it. I worked in the high-tech industry in Israel, excellent researchers and engineers in the high-tech industry, but again, not enough. As you increase the level and reaching to CEOs and high levels of task in the high-tech, the number of women are decreasing. So we need to open the pipeline at the beginning, primary school.
Well said. All right, listen, now as we really wind down our conversation, Ami, Jewish National Fund USA, I don't know if you heard, but JNF USA has launched a whole year-long campaign called Conversations on Zionism, Reclaiming the Narrative. It's a whole year-long campaign to show the beauty, the inclusivity of what Zionism is all about. And we encourage everybody in earshot, if they haven't done so already, to go to youtube.com/Zionism Studios to catch these really important conversations. So with that in mind, I'd love to ask you what your definition of Zionism is and what aspect of Zionism you're most proud of.
First of all, I would like to, I'm talking about ideas, but I'm too much an engineer and a manager, so I need to implement. It's not only views. So my point of view, my personal implementation of Zionism is living in Israel, using my expertise to educate and give a proper and relevant education to the new generation and to the young Jewish people in Israel. So this is my small prisma. On a larger scale, living in Israel, contribution to the Jewish culture, heritage, religious education, to all aspects of religious, while living in Israel, each one of us by his belief and his way of thinking according to the Jewish heritage.
All right. And on that note, we're going to leave it right there. Ami Moyal from Afeka, we want to thank you so much for joining us here on this episode of IsraelCast. I look forward to meeting you next time I'm there.
You're most welcome to visit Afeka. I'll be very happy. Thank you very much for the opportunity for this excellent talk. Thank you.
Thank you. And I might just join one of those classes on the beach.
Okay.
I'll be listening in. I'll be listening in. I won't be teaching it. I can tell you right now. Okay. All right. And we'll have info about Ami Moyal and Afeka on the show notes page of this very episode on our website, jnf.org/IsraelCast. And before we move on with a little housekeeping, just want to remind you what we were just talking about, that Jewish National Fund USA believes the time has come for us to reclaim the narrative, take ownership of the word Zionism, and show the world how beautiful, inclusive, and inspirational it really is. So do join those conversations on Zionism, reclaiming the narrative. You can check them out. I hope you do at youtube.com/Zionism Studios. All right. As for IsraelCast, we do release new episodes of the show every other Wednesday, so mark your calendars. And just so you never miss an episode, subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. It's so easy. Simply search for IsraelCast. You don't have to be an engineer to figure that one out. And don't forget to rate and review us to make it easier for more folks around the world to find us. Or you can always enjoy the show by visiting us at our website, once again, jnf.org/IsraelCast. Now, it takes a homo shop to put IsraelCast together. For that, we thank Vivian Grossman, Dara Shapiro, and J.D. Krebs. Our editors are Jay Rothman and James Casada from Miratone Studios right here in the very heart of New York City. And the music that you hear at the top and tail of the program is titled My Eden. It's by the very talented Rafi Malkiel from his album Water on the Tzaddik label. IsraelCast is powered by Jewish National Fund USA, your voice in Israel. For more info about JNF USA, visit jnf.org. And we'd love to hear from you with story ideas, or if you just want to say hello. So do email us at israelcast@jnf.org. Meantime, I'm Steven Shalowitz, thanking you for tuning in and looking forward to having you join us on future episodes of IsraelCast.